Hello, welcome back. It's Camille DeVille. Hey guys, if you've been here before, you kind of know the drill. I haven't made a YouTube video in a long time, so I want to give you an idea of what we're here for. What I've done in the past is basically the same thing, okay? We're going to be talking about my sobriety journey, update on that, and kind of delve into different parts of life. A little bit of makeup, get to know me mixed in, as well as all kinds of things that we all deal with if we're unfortunate or fortunate enough. So we're going to talk about motherhood, we're going to talk about marriage, we're going to talk about divorce, we're going to talk about self-love and healing. And I am not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a professional, but I feel like I am pretty in tune and I've come a long way. I guess I'll kind of start this with a history on Camille. I had a really great childhood, and my dad was around, but I was raised in the home with my mom and my stepdad and my siblings. And I mean, there was stuff sometimes, but really, ultimately, I feel like I had an amazing childhood. And then for some reason, around age 13, I hit a depression. And my mom would say that there had been signs, but she also would say that there was a huge, my loving, sweet, daughter turned into this like nightmare, right? And I think that's kind of indicative for that age. However, my daughter didn't really go through that, but I did. And it seems like ever since I started feeling depression and noticing anxiety, and I remember my first anxiety attack, because these kind of go hand in hand. Very different feelings, but if you have one, you tend to exist with the other. At least I do. So my first anxiety attack was a panic attack, and it was triggered by, I was in the restroom at my grandma's house, and the toilet made a hissing sound, and I got overwhelmed. I couldn't breathe. I thought I couldn't breathe. Now, I've had many panic attacks like that, starting then and then moving forward. But around 13 is when that depression and stuff started, and I try to think of what triggered it. Around that time I went through my first heartbreak, which apparently I have a tattoo right here it says The Hurting Kind, and it's from my favorite living artist called John Paul White, and he has an album about that, and it just really resonated with that. It seemed like a hopeless romantic situation. And then also just, I guess, embracing the darkness, the sadness, the depression of part of who I am. The highlight of who I am and having to feel the feelings that I've had a majority of my life, I'm 35 now, is that I had gone through these feelings, warranted or not. That's what I went through. Warranted for me, fuck it, whatever, okay? And I know that the hard things in my life, as you can relate, have hopefully not made you bitter and jaded, but made you a better person, more aware of yourself, and also of how to handle others and spread more love. One of my favorite quotes is to operate from love. In every instance, even when it's hard and we're not perfect at it, I'm not perfect at it, but I often remind myself to operate from love. Also, giving yourself grace. You cannot expect to be this perfect person all the time with the perfect response and no selfish feelings. But it's very important that once you have reacted in a situation and maybe you were a little bit embarrassed about it, to take accountability. So I kind of want to start here on the base of depression being part of who I am and part of my life, sorry. And then also taking accountability. And then we're going to move into a quick sobriety update, I think, for today. And then I want to talk a little bit about these cards back here, okay? So back to 13, I was raised Christian, and it was just like, I didn't doubt it. It was just part of my life, part of our culture in the home. So that was just what it was. Well, 13, you start to get some awareness. You start to have some questions, as one does. I had a very close friend who introduced me to the idea of atheism, and it just made a lot more sense. And my mom would attribute my depression and things to that. However, in the grand scheme of things, yes, I do think that it might have had something to do with my transformation and Yeah. Okay. But I think in the grand scheme of things, it really helped me be, again, more accountable, taking power over my life and not relying on something else. And so when I talk about my sobriety here in a minute, I'm going to be talking about that as well. Trying to stay on track. But on that note, a lot of the programs for sober people, and this is all I care about if you're sober, is that you're doing it without harming somebody. I don't care if you're sober. I want you to be if you need to be, if it would benefit you and the people around you. But I don't care how you do it. What works for one doesn't always work for another. That's why I'm sharing, in part, my side. My side, I like to share my story. It helps me stay accountable. It certainly did in the beginning. And then, I took this hiatus from sharing my story, at least online. But in the AA meetings, for example, they really help a lot of people. I talked about the statistics. I always have a hard time saying that word. But if it works for you, it works for you. If you lean into God and you have to give it up to God and let Him have the power, that's okay too. If you want to call it the universe, that's okay too. For me, I do pray, and I've done this for a long time now. How many years? Maybe 6-7 years, where it's an open prayer, okay? Because I'm just open to anything that I can connect to and embrace, and a lot of self-reflection again. So when my prayer goes like this, and sometimes it's in my head and sometimes it's out loud, and it's like, dear God, dear universe, dear maybe loved ones that have passed on, dear Camille, and dear family and friends. And then I essentially am asking for any source that may exist and does exist to come together and help me figure out my next step, or to vent the things, or to simply express gratitude. And I try to do both. Okay, so with that being said, where did I want to go next? I wanted to talk about working my way out of depression. So one of the main things, and I remember it was a huge turning point in my getting better. There was a few major points for me, but on my own, I didn't want to take medication, tried a couple therapy things. And the patience I have to share with my story with someone is just non-existent. But here I am on this forum. But so golly, I used to have notes that kind of keep me in check and on track, but it's okay. We're gonna get here. Oh yes. So one of my first ways that I handled my depression is I fight it. I fought it. I still do when it comes, but I had this light bulb go off that depression is part of who I am, and it comes, but it always goes away. I'm fortunate in that way that it does go away. It's not a constant. Now, when I was younger, it was more of a constant. And then I have these phases, like I just went through one the last 2 or 3 weeks of just really intense depression. But I kept telling myself, and it doesn't feel like it in the moment. It doesn't. But I'm like, what I told myself years ago that helped me feel better is, it's coming, it's here, it's doing its thing, but it's going to retreat. It's not going to be so intense forever. So hold on. I think that's important in scenarios when people make knee-jerk decisions about whether or not they want to live and things like that, because the depression can be so heavy. It doesn't always feel like that. Now, you have to be active to get out of that state, that place. So another thing, on top of telling myself that, which I still had to remind myself all these years later, and there is that fear, is it going to stay this time? Another part is doing something to get yourself elevated again, to get out of that hole that you have fallen into. And for me, that was making plans with one of my best friends. And I canceled the first night. We were going to do karaoke or something like that. We haven't done that in a long time. I've really become kind of a homebody at this point, very focused on business, this and that. But I made a plan. And even though I didn't totally feel like doing it, I did stick with it. And we went to a progressive line dancing lesson. We had a beautiful time. And then we went to eat. And then after that, I was like, I need to continue this momentum. I know that her and I like to travel together, and we always feel peaceful after we've been together. and reconnected with the world, and nothing in my house is fucked up, okay? Like, things are pretty damn good at home. But that's another thing that fuels my soul, my fire, and lifts me up. So we have now, and this thing, don't think about it, okay? Don't think about it. You don't have a lot of money, that's okay. Me and this bitch, we travel together and we travel well. And new experiences, they light me up. So ChatGPT'd her wants, her needs for a little vacation, our budget, and then guess what? We're going out of town this weekend. And it's gonna be great. And some of it, we're gonna kind of rough it because we like a good budget. And I'm gonna report back at some point how that made me feel, but I'm telling you right now, I've done it before and it feels good. So lift yourself up. Do not stay. You know, I used to have my mom have to tell me, like, you gotta get up, you gotta show up. And some days I think it is okay to retreat back and just take time for yourself to be in the sadness. There is a moment for that. There is a couple days for that or whatever. But then you do need to try different methods, especially if that's not working, which I did do that. And I think it like helped me get back rest that I didn't know I definitely needed, because your brain's not going to function unless you're completely rested. And I go so hard as part of my coping mechanisms to live in my mind and my body, and because it makes me feel good being productive. But I go so hard doing these things. So I needed to reset. But then as soon as the reset became stagnant, I decided I needed to do something else. And that's where the date with my friend came in. And then knowing that nourished both of us, that's where the next plan comes in. So don't just do one thing. You have to stand up and do something for yourself. You have to, even if you don't feel it, fake it till you make it. Love yourself till you love you whole, till it becomes something. Guess what? You've been with this bitch since before you were born, and you're gonna be with you till you die and potentially afterwards. So take care of that person. Take care of you, bitch. Okay? Hopefully that made some sense to you guys. I just briefly mentioned that I do stay really busy. That is part of my coping with how to handle life. Very productive. I do have to reflect and take a moment to be like, okay, I need to be present. I need to make a mommy-daughter date. I need to get off my phone and just sit with my husband. And then being so busy, taking those things in mind. Another thing I do is I do not give myself enough credit. It's something I keep realizing. And I get really hard on myself. But then I'm like, wait, but you did this, you did that, and you're doing okay. So sometimes you really need to give yourself grace. I'm saying push yourself, but also give yourself some motherfucking grace and some motherfucking credit, okay? This is just a quick blanket on top of what I'm trying to share. And we can get more into the different topics. In the beginning, I mentioned different type of stories I do want to go into as the channel picks back up momentum and stuff. But for today, this is just kind of a see how I talk, see if you're into it. Hopefully something I've said so far helps you. I do want to do a quick sobriety update, but I will have to do another video for that because the sobriety journey is very long and it has a lot of ups and it has a lot of downs and it has a lot of just chill. But I think it's important, if you're specifically going to be here to follow my sobriety journey, that we go through that, very focused on that. So for today, I'm going to share that I just looked it up. I stopped counting the days, which actually is a good thing. But I think it was 518 days. So I've been sober since February 26, 2024. My husband got sober 100 days before me. When I first started, there is videos you can go back and watch my journey so far. When I first started, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just knew that I was drinking a lot and I wanted to grow with my husband. And I think things like that, when I'm drinking every day and he's not drinking at all, that was going to make us come from here. You feel me? So I wanted to test it out. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to be proud of myself. And there's something about drinking every day that didn't feel right. Again, story for another time. But I do want to let you guys know I am still sober. I'm happily sober. Actually, right here is a cute little gift from a friend. And there's different little sober chips and things that I've gotten. My mom gifted my brother this keychain thing, and he put, I think that was my 1-year chip in. My husband got me this one. I really like it because, like I said, I don't do the program. I'm not knocking it, but I don't do it. I do it, and I'm going to get into my reasons, and then we'll keep the rest for another video. No matter what club. And it's little creepy girls and pink and cute. And so that line right there, I really do appreciate. No matter what. You don't have a drink, no matter what. That's really helped me. So my reason initially to try sobriety was, am I an alcoholic? I don't even know. I'm drinking every day. I've tried to cut back and it kind of works. And then I'm just like, fuck it, whatever. Wanting to stay connected with my husband and also spend more time with my daughter. And I was gaining weight rapidly. Like I was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. I've always been very skinny. Like right now I'm 155 pounds. I'm 5'10", somewhere in that realm. I was up to 178 and I did not feel good about myself. So all those things were kind of playing in my head. Now, as I continued to be sober, some other reasons became very apparent. And it did start from the beginning, but it also just became more apparent, and it's what kept me sober. So again, real briefly, my mother, it's coming up on 2 years, August 29th of 2023. She took her own life as a result of depression and alcoholism mixed together. And I believe without the alcohol, she would still be here. That's a whole nother thing I want to talk about. My story, my channel will have grief sessions about my grief and how to navigate yours. So when at my hardest moments of when I wanted and want to drink, when that does hit, I think about my number. I get excited about my number, you know. I was like, girl, you got a month. Girl, you got 300 days, whatever it was. And I didn't want to lose all that. That's just a ego thing, I guess, but that mattered to me. And it's really deeper than an ego thing. But my number one thing was my mom. I remember when she had weight issues, she would say, like, I don't recognize myself in the mirror, right? So I don't recognize myself as an alcoholic, or I didn't. And then when the drinking, basically, when it came to drinking, she just said, like, no one's invincible. No one wants to be an alcoholic. But there she was, you know. And we even talked about suicide because I had my depression and stuff. I'd never attempted, thankfully. But I don't even know if I'm allowed to say Sui on here, but I did. Hopefully it's okay. Yeah, because actually I'm thinking about the true crime videos and they say unlifing or something, unaliving. Anyway, if it could happen to the strong, beautiful woman, it could happen to me. And not even have to be that extreme, but just the upset, the torment that it caused her, the relationships that broke and were damaged over time. That's not for me. And I let her be my inspiration and I honor her life by staying sober. So that's my number one reason. I'm very happy and in love with my marriage. That's another reason. And my daughter prefers me sober. So all those three get me. And then when those can't get me, no matter what, we don't take a drink, no matter what. And it does get easier with time. There are moments where you're like, what the fuck? Is this the first 2 weeks? What the fuck? But it does. So that's a little glimpse into those conversations. I have one of my very, very best friends is my sister. She's very spiritual. Now, I fall somewhere in the openness of the uni and the world and the feelings and the things. The reason I like this deck that she gifted me, now she gifted it to me because it was too dark for her. And then she realized as we pull cards from it that it's really not that dark at all. I'm going to give you the synopsis of the deck. This is the guidebook. Okay. And this is the actual deck of cards. Now, I just want to read to you guys what they are. I love witchy stuff. Like, aesthetically, I love witchy stuff. And it's crazy how you can manifest things, whether it be signs or beautiful things in your life. Hold on. Well, damn it. There was an explanation somewhere in here. The deck is really about self-reflection, which is a huge part of how I think operating life needs to be for your best results, okay? Well, damn it, I can't find it. It essentially says, like, oh, you know what? There it is. Oh, shit, wrong way. I'm going to read that to you. It says, welcome to the Wild Unknown Tarot. You'll find no wrongs or rights inside this box. Only mirrors for reflection. Open your mind, draw a card, and have fun on your journey. Perfect. So, it's not magic. It's not dark magic. I like to refer to beautiful things as magic, and you'll hear me talk about magic in that way. So, anyhow, I use these cards as sometimes a direction, and I'll set an intention, like, how today, what should I focus on this video? What should I, basically that's it. Like, what should I be talking about on this first video back? And so, I pulled 2 cards. Usually I just do one. Sometimes I have multiple questions. Like, I need confirmation from my mom. I need to know what's really bugging me. And they don't tell you, obviously, directly, oh, your job's bugging me. You reflect on what it says in the card. So it really is how you interpret it, okay? So for today, I'm going to tell you the 2 cards I pulled, which is the Moon. And this is how the pages look. And it says, vivid dreams and fears. In many ways, the Moon card encompasses the idea of the wild unknown, this deck. It is the shadow realm, the place where dreams, fears, and mysteries are born. Hold, pause. I'm going to tell you my reflection on this. I wasn't sure if I should bring this into my videos, but since I do use it in my daily or weekly practices of how to deal and enjoy and direct and guide my life and reflect, it's self-reflection, this card confirms to me that it's encompassing the idea of the wild unknown. So I should be using the idea that I am using and just be real about that. Much darkness can linger here, and if you aren't careful, this can lead to periods of anxiety and self-doubt. Y'all, that's what I've been going through. I ain't never pulled this card. I haven't had a bout of anxiety and depression like I have lately. Almost as though you've lost your way in the house of mirrors. Love the mirrors. Love the self-reflection. Stop asking everyone else and expecting everyone else to fix your problems. Stand the fuck up and handle it, okay? With love, because I have a lot of compassion, I do. For myself and others, mostly for others. Many great artists have roamed this inner landscape. It's where imagination and creativity drift freely upon the midnight air, and these videos are kind of a creative outlet for me, especially when I edit them and add shit in. The other card I pulled today, and I feel like this card I pulled more so for a viewer versus myself, but it's the Mother of Pentacles, domestic, loving, and patient. And I think I pulled it because I can share the other side of it. The Mother of Pentacles excels in the home. She knows exactly what to do while raising a family and tending to the task of daily life. There's potential for her identity to become wrapped entirely around her children and home, which leaves her needy and attached. This is the cause of most of her turmoil. She often has qualities of a healer and is very connected to nature. You know what's weird is I initially read that right before we started this video, and I thought it was for y'all, and it could be, okay? And what I wanted to say about that is, if you are that mom, if you are that person in the home where everything revolves around your home and your family life, that you have to take a moment for yourself. And I was thinking, like, me going out of town this weekend. You guys, one of my huge ways that I stay busy is curating cute spots in my home. I work from home for both my jobs, and then I spent all this time making my spaces cute, and I just where I spend all my time. I'm chilling. I'm straight chilling in this bitch. But you know what I thought recently is I need to get out and do some, not full on, but some of the things that used to bring me joy. You know, things change. You don't enjoy going out all the time anymore. That's okay. But that is something that nourishes me. So I actually am relating to this card now. And I think it's important for maybe a mom sitting at home watching this to give yourself a minute and take care of you, okay? And then lastly, this is a card that I pulled a couple days ago, and for some reason I bookmarked it. It must have meant enough to me at the time to have it here. So I figured we're gonna do that one too. And I feel like they all tie in together. 7 of Wands, courage and an inner strength. A single wand stands up tall, ablaze with light. The others fall away in shadow. Such is the story of the 7 of Wands. You'll not find any strength or support from others. What was I just saying? Only yourself. It's time to be truly courageous and stand up for your beliefs. You may be overwhelmed with caution and fear, but your internal fire will guide the way. And on that note, a lot of times I pick my battles, especially in marriage or close friendships. But communication can never be underrated. Hell no. As uncomfortable as it is, and we'll go into those in future videos, and there'll be certain chapters about certain things, but you have to communicate your feelings and your needs, but you better self-reflect, okay? I'm saying communicate in those relationships that are important to you, but self-reflection has to come first. It's the only person you have control over, and it's the only way to make real moves. And I do believe that people follow suit. When you set an example, if someone wants to grow with you or is meant to be in your life, they're going to follow suit. And if they're not, they'll weed themselves out, and it's reason, season, lifetime. We covered a lot of shit today, and we did just the basics, the floating on top and swerving in and out of little pieces of life. But this is a glimpse of what my YouTube channel is about. I also did cover true crime stories, and I may go back to them. For right now, it is a lot of time and research, and I feel like at this point in my life, I really just enjoy listening to them rather than researching them myself. But that is something that I'll probably trickle in, just stories I've heard, and kind of tell you guys about them while I do a makeup tutorial maybe. But not like a full-on display of true crime. It's a lot of work, and kudos, hats off to those bitches. Thank you so much for what you do, and the guys that do it, because mommy, be appreciative. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. I am Camille DeVille. I will see you hopefully, I'm thinking once a week. And then I just want to share, if you watch my other videos, and I mentioned the weight gain from the drinking, and then between the two things, the weight gain from the drinking, the slowing down of my metabolism, and the laziness that it caused. Look at your girl now. Hold on, let me pull my shorts out of my booty. Yeah, girl. Top is twisted. But I feel good in my skin. In my skin zone. Okay, so it's nice. And it's important. And look at my little arm. Okay. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you next time. Please comment, like, subscribe, share.